Okay, hello, I am Corina Benner. Welcome to Yoga to Wind Down. We will start with seal or sphinx pose, so come to lay on your belly. You might just lay down with your elbows on the floor. You could bring your elbows onto blocks. The blocks could be on the small height. You might turn them up to the medium height. If you'd like to go even deeper, you could bring your arms to your hands in front of you, walk your hands in a bit. So you'll notice each of these subsequent elevations is simply creating more of a curve in the lower back, which is exactly what we're going for. You're welcome to have your feet more narrow, almost like your inner ankles touching, or you could have your feet about as wide as your mat. And you'll just notice that where you place your feet will influence what you feel in your spine, in your back. And all of it is legal, all of it is legit. You find the shape that suits you the best. Here you could have your shoulders sort of hiked up by your ears. You could have them sinking down. The important thing is to relax the muscles along the spine. Relax the buttocks, relax even the toes, relax the thighs. You could let your head drop down. You might find it interesting to pause side to side, turn your head to one side or the other. This is probably the most active pose or the most effortful pose that will be part of this particular sequence. So that's the good news. Get the more rigorous part out of the way. The thing is to sink the pubic bone and the pelvis toward the floor. Yeah, and keep the thighs relaxed, the toes relaxed, the forehead relaxed. It can be nice to start your wind down or your chill out yin practice with something that's a bit more active, because you're probably coming to the mat from a more active situation. So it might be even more difficult to settle and be very calm in a pose. So in a way, this pose to start with might be a little bit like homeopathy. Give a little bit of the challenge first. So feel how your breath is moving. Relax your forehead. Interesting, in many of the yin yoga poses, maybe even most, as you get more space, you might sink deeper. This is a little bit of an opposite. As you open the body more, you might be able to walk your hands in closer. You might actually make it a little deeper that way. Let your shoulders sink. In yin yoga, we are seeking to relax the muscles and seeking to nourish the fascia, really, the connective tissue in the body. Just as we know, muscles over time, if you don't use them, will atrophy. Over time, if you are not moving the joints, over time the movement possibility becomes less and less available. So in order to keep the body mobile, you need to move in all of the directions you want to move in. So let's inhale here, and exhale, go ahead and lower down. You could make a pillow with your hands, rest your forehead or your cheek, rock your hips. And really feel, just dare to feel what you feel. Feel how you are affected by each of the individual poses and then the collective, how all of them fit together. So now we'll practice starfish pose. You could wiggle your body a little to the right of center on your mat. just so that when you roll, you're back on your mat. Bring your left arm out to the side. If you look at your left arm, if you were lying on a clock, we would say your arm is at like 9 o'clock. You could turn the palm down or turn the palm up. That will influence what you feel. We are seeking to open the armpit chest of the left arm here. You might like a block or a blanket, especially if your neck feels a little tender in this shape. A little support under your head could be helpful. Look over your right shoulder and pour weight into your right hand and roll onto your side. So just pause here for a moment. The first place you might stop would be just to keep both legs down, just bend your knees. So you might just bend your knees like this. You could stay here. If you want, you could lift the top knee, that's the right knee here. The right foot might go behind the long leg or in front. See about lifting your right arm up to the sky. Like a shooting star across the sky, your right hand disappears behind you. So you might simply bend your elbow and let your hand dangle down the back of your body. Or your hands might find each other, they might lace. Don't change where your left arm is in order to lace your hands. And see if you could do that and relax a little bit. Lee, would you like something under your head? You feel good, okay. At any point, if you wanted to, you could also bend the long knee and bring both feet to the floor. You'll feel how your knees could be melting over to the right side. So this is a bit of a twist, a shoulder, a chest opener. Could be somewhat energizing or releasing what's been stuck. Just opening the chest, especially if you spend a lot of time maybe at the desk or the computer or driving, there could be some roundedness in the shoulders. So this could be creating a little bit of the opposite. Really let your awareness just ride the breath. Maybe you imagine the breath like waves of the ocean, and you could visualize yourself as like a tiny icon of yourself, maybe surfing. So let yourself simply surf the waves of the breath. If situations from your day pop back into your mind, just acknowledge them and let them know you'll get back to them later. And this time is just for yourself. So come back to the embodied experience. Notice your forehead, your jaw. See what you can do to smooth the expression on your face. Last breath here. When you come out of the poses, you want to be as attentive as when you get into them. So go ahead and lengthen your legs long, release your hands if they're twined. Get some weight onto the right arm, maybe the elbow. See about rolling back onto your belly. Slide your left arm in. You could plant the hand, maybe roll the shoulder. Roll your wrist. So the magic of the pose isn't just when you're in it, it's also when you come out of it. So you'll continue to feel the effects of what you're doing here long after you're off your mat. So let's go ahead and wiggle to the opposite side. And that's just to keep you on your mat. You don't have to do that if you've got lots of room where you are. Stretch your right arm out. You could have your palm up or down. The wrist probably in line with the armpit. You might find your arm drifting back or forward, but just feel what is best for you to feel this opening through the armpit chest. Pouring weight into the left hand, go ahead, roll onto your side. And again, a whole bunch of choices. You could keep both knees bent, your feet on the floor. You could lift the top knee, bring that foot It could be behind, or it could even be in front of the opposite leg. See about lifting your left arm up, drifting it around behind you. Maybe the elbow simply bends and your hand dangles down your back body. Or maybe your two hands lace. Maybe they find each other. Some people really enjoy this as a neck stretch, the openness of the chest. And again, if it's available, you're certainly welcome to bend the opposite knee too, bringing both feet to the floor. What's interesting about yin yoga is I would say there's not really yin yoga poses so much, but there's a yin method of practicing. So most of the poses that you'll encounter in a yin yoga practice are poses that you practice in other forms of yoga as well. So the yin yoga method is essentially you relax muscular effort, you use body weight and gravity to let yourself just ease into the pose, sort of melt into the pose. And you maintain them for time. I used to say we hold poses for specific periods of time in yin. I don't use that language anymore because holding a pose implies some sort of muscular effort. It implies that you're doing something to maintain. But rather, yin is a melting. So instead of holding poses, you could think that you are sinking into poses or melting into poses for between 3 and 5 minutes. And again, notice if your mind is wandering away, if it's dashing into the future, if it's pulling into the past, if it's spinning on a hamster wheel of everyday responsibilities. Just notice the pattern, the habit of the mind. There's nothing wrong with it. That's what the mind does. But notice that it's trying to take awareness out of this moment. And the moment you notice, that's a fresh start. Come right back. Discover what is here that maybe you haven't noticed before. Again, relax the jaw. We're about to transition. So inhale, receive the breath deeply. And exhale, sigh. Go ahead and release your hands if they're twined. Roll back onto your belly. Stretch your legs long. Be attentive rolling out so you feel what is occurring. You can plant the hand, roll the wrist, roll the head, and just pause for a moment. Maybe pillow your hands or whatever feels right. So as you're ready, we'll practice now sleeping swan pose, which looks a lot like the shape that's known as pigeon. So you'll bring your wrists under your armpits, press back onto hands and knees, and slide your right knee forward by your right wrist. You'll turn your right foot somewhere in front of your left thigh. Now, some people will keep the heel really close to the back thigh. Others might bring the shin all the way toward, like parallel with the top of the mat. You find what's most appropriate for you. If you have your right sitting bone quite elevated and you want to, if you have an extra support, you could slide a blanket underneath your right outer hip. The idea is to feel the tug, the lengthening, the opening in the right outer hip, but you don't want to feel your knee. So if you feel it in your knee, you've got to figure out how to get the hip and get out of the knee. Go ahead and walk your hands forward. Again, you might have your elbows on blocks. You might have your forehead on a block. If there's any small way that you could give yourself just a little bit of extra support, go ahead and do that. You don't want to let go without support, and neither does your body. So give your body all the support it needs so that it is able to let go. Interesting, when you do use support in yin yoga, over time you might be able to move it out of the way. So you might find that as the tissue becomes more supple, as the tissue starts to lengthen, that you have more space to sink into, so you could lower or remove the support altogether. In Yin Yoga, I would say for sure, breathe through your nostrils. But if you're familiar with Ujjayi breathing, if that's how you typically practice active yoga, just know that breath is optional in Yin Yoga. So that's the breath where you create like an audible whisper-like sound at the base of the throat. If the pose is really challenging for you, Ujjayi breath might help you stay there. Right? Ujjayi breath could be like the voice of your coach that encourages you to stay present, to do more. Or the Ujjayi breath could even be like the voice of a good friend who's just listening to you. But if the pose is really delicious and you could slide away a little bit, breathing with that sounded breath might make you feel a little too landlocked, let's say. That might make you feel like you're a little too static. So you could let go of the breath and let your awareness spread out even further. Continue to observe what occurs in the body. What you notice moment by moment, what you feel. Being grateful for this small pocket of time that you have carved out for yourself, that you get to just be with yourself. You don't have to do anything for anyone else. So inhale here. Exhale, sigh. Start to walk your hands under your armpits. Use your arms if you can to help lift up your torso. And then go ahead, you can shift back to hands and knees. You could slide that right foot back in space, maybe roll the ankle, squeeze the toes. If there's any small gesture that allows energy to move back through, you could even see the yoga poses as almost building a dam and preventing energy from moving, so that coming out is like a flushing through, which may help dissipate energetic blockages. So we'll go ahead and try the second side. Slide your left knee forward. Again, position the body in the way that is appropriate for you. So figure out how can you target your left outer hip, not feel your left knee. Maybe some support, and again, with time, that support might get lowered. Go ahead and walk your hands forward. It is amazing just to notice. If you start to see in Yin Yoga that you are tensing, for example, your shoulders or your jaw, or clenching, you need a little extra support there. Is that high enough? Yeah. You might notice that you're tensing your shoulders or clenching your jaw or furrowing your brow. If you start to notice, or really when you start to notice that in Yin Yoga, there's a strong likelihood you'll start to notice it all day long. Like these armoring tactics that you might be employing as a vehicle for self-protection. But they might be battling ghosts. They might be protecting against a threat that is no longer even present. So if you notice you are clenching or squeezing or holding, Yeah, you could just even have a dialogue. Ask your body if that's necessary. See if it's willing to let it go. It might be a habit that's been practiced for a really long time, so it could actually take a while to undo it. I don't know if just noticing it once and releasing it once will be all you have to do. You might have to do it frequently. So again, if you do sit at a desk a lot or in a car, this shape really good for getting your outer hips to open, and they can not move that much if you're sitting in a desk or at a desk or in a car. It's pretty remarkable to imagine that putting your body into specific shapes and then letting go of muscular effort and just sinking for time, that this could have merit, that this could actually be beneficial. And it's quite a relief. Giving yourself this little bit of time just for you. When there's nothing to achieve, accomplish, no threat of failure. So inhale here and exhale, sigh. Walk your hands back in, lift up. See if you can pause here for just a moment. And to exit this side, see about swinging your back leg forward. Yeah. It may feel good, necessary to stretch your left leg long for a moment. You could rub the knee, roll the ankle. And we'll practice a butterfly pose with your heels in pretty close to your pelvic floor. You may like a blanket underneath your sitting bones. You're welcome, which could be really wonderful to help you tip forward. If you don't fold very far, the blanket could help. If you already fold quite far, the blanket could increase the angle of flexion. Roll back up again for a moment if you would. And see if you can draw your heels in really close to your pelvic floor, or as close as possible. Hopefully, when you fold forward, you will feel some tugging, some opening, some quality of stretch on your inner thighs. You might like blocks. Would you like blocks for your elbows, your forehead? No? Okay. And go ahead and tuck your chin and just fold to whatever degree you can. Do you feel that in your inner thighs? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Relaxing your jaw. It could be tempting to measure or compare, to judge, to prefer. And that's really what the mind does. It does it really well. But in Yin Yoga, as much as possible, shift away from that comparative mind, that judging or preferring mind, and come back to simply embodied experience. There's no better than, and no not as good as. There's just where you are on your mat in this moment, and how you can take really good care of yourself, of your body. The practice of Yin Yoga is seeking to mobilize the joints, to allow for as much mobility or flexibility as your particular skeleton is designed for. The way everybody's body is put together is quite different. So the access you have to poses ultimately is determined by how your bones fit together, how your joints fit together. And so rather than trying to be like anyone else in the poses, just feel how you are in the poses. Let the breath be really deep and full. I know a lot of people these days with our handheld devices are dropping the chin frequently. So we might think that that means the muscles or the tissue in the back of the neck is mobile, is flexible. But it might actually just be getting locked long. And so rather than being flexible, it might just be kind of stuck in that shape. So letting the weight of the head kind of curl the spine forward might be lengthening that tissue. And then, of course, throughout your yin practice, finding the opposite. So inhale here, receive the breath deeply. Exhale, sigh. Use your hands to walk your torso in and to lift up. And just pause. Go ahead and extend your right leg long. Bring your left foot to the inside top of that leg. And don't flex the foot or engage the thigh. Just let your leg be passive. Sit up, tuck your chin and round yourself forward over that right leg. Yeah. You, again, use blocks however they are supportive under your elbows or under your forehead. So whenever you practice yin, whenever you come into a yin yoga pose, the first question to ask is, where should I be feeling this? And that will help you figure out how to position your body. So we are targeting the lower back of the bent knee side of the body. And certainly the back of the long leg. If you wanted to, you could make it a little bit of a side stretch. So Lee would turn her torso a little bit to the left. Yeah, and maybe you could again use blocks under your head or just to support your shoulder. And the arm might come up overhead or just stay down. And don't flex or reach so much. But that could help you feel more of the tugging in the lower back. Yeah, let your hand just dangle down. You can listen to the symphony of your breath. And feel the ripples of sensation through your body. Noticing if the mind again goes into the future or pulls into the past. Relax the skin of the forehead. Relax your jaw. Inhale here. Exhale, sigh. Walk your hands in. Press your hands down. Use your hands to help to lift up your torso. And just pause. Bring your left knee to the sky. Stretch your left leg long. Bend your right knee. Bring the right foot toward the inside top of that leg. Yeah, sitting up and then facing the leg, tuck your chin, round yourself forward. And again, just like on the other side, if you want to make it more of a side stretch or potentially feel more of your lower back, especially on the bent knee side of the body, you could rotate your torso slightly to the right side. Yeah, let your arm just sort of dangle. Maybe you use blocks or blanket supports under your head, under your shoulder. Could be really interesting to just notice in your yin yoga practice if there's any quality of striving, if there's any desire to be somewhere else. So it's interesting, it can be really interesting to notice if there's any quality of striving in your practice. Imagining that being in a different shape would somehow be better, or striving to get to a different place. It can be really difficult, especially at the end of a busy day, to shift out of accomplishment or achieving and into just being, just allowing and melting. So there's no better than in yin yoga. There's no not as good as. There's just where you are in the shape. It's figuring out how to position your body so that you invite movement into parts of the body that might not move very frequently. Over time, the movement patterns that you don't embody or that you stop embodying become less and less available, until eventually it's not possible. So one of the reasons to move the body is so you can move the body. I heard someone once say, you don't have to floss all of your teeth, just the ones you want to keep. So you don't have to move your body in every direction, just the movement patterns that you want to be able to move in. We know we need strong muscles. We're learning, we're realizing that we also need supple fascia, connective tissue. Sometimes it's being called these days the soft skeleton. So it's being recognized nowadays as really, really important. Fascia is widely studied, and we're learning more and more about it every day. But the possibility in Yin Yoga is that we are actually nourishing and supplizing the fascia, which, among many things, maintains mobility, enhances mobility. So go ahead, inhale here. Exhale, sigh. Press your elbows down or press your hands down. Use your arms to lift up your torso. Just pause for a moment. And then you'll come to sit. You'll simply cross your shins, cross your ankles. For Nadi Shodhanali, you might face the other side, the long side of your mat. I definitely recommend sitting up on a blanket or two blankets or two blocks, sitting up on a height so that your hips are higher than your knees, so that your spine has the natural curves, so you don't have to use a lot of extra effort to maintain this sense of elegance and dignity in your spine. Turn your left palm up to face the sky. Really feel what happens when you link the index finger nail into the first crease of the thumb, creating Jnana Mudra. Mudras are energetic configurations. You literally plug the body back into itself to create a specific vibration. Bring your right hand toward your face. Take the tips of the first two fingers. You can rest them on your forehead, or you could turn them down into the palm of your hand, whichever feels more natural for you. You'll bring your thumb and cover the outside of your right nostril, and your ring finger will cover your left nostril. Let your elbow just drop, broaden your collarbones, elevate through the tips of your ears. Inhale, receive the breath through both nostrils. Exhale through both nostrils. Close the right nostril with the thumb. Inhale, left side, 3, 2, 1. Close left. Exhale, right side, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, right side, 3, 2, 1. Close right. Exhale, left side. That was one round of Nadi Shodhana. Inhale, left side, 3. Close left. Exhale, right side, 3. Inhale, right side, 3, 2, 1. Close right. Exhale, left side. That was 2 rounds. Continue just a few more rounds on your own. It's kind of like a horseshoe pattern. You change the press of the nostril after the inhale. If your breath wants to move longer, then let the breath move longer. Maybe it's 4 beats or 6 or even 8 beats. But don't strive for a bigger number, thinking somehow that is more advanced. Do your best to have inhale and exhale be the same duration. And really feel not just each breath, but each moment of each breath. Nadi Shodhana is energy pathway purification technique. It is believed to do that, to purify, to cleanse, to purify the pathways in the body through which prana or chi or vitality, through which energy travels. This breath is believed to balance the 2 hemispheres of the brain, the sympathetic and parasympathetic aspects of the autonomic nervous system. Some say it helps to balance the endocrine system, which is your body's hormones, perhaps calming the mind and the nervous system. When you lead with the left side, that might help to spark a more introspective quality. So at the end of a busy day, this could be a really lovely way to help yourself unwind. So do one more round. The round begins with the inhale through the left nostril and ends when you finally exhale again through that left nostril. Whenever you do that, whenever you do finally exhale through the left nostril, go ahead and release your hand down. Don't be in a hurry. Let it be the natural rhythm of the breath. And when you do release, you could have both palms facing up, both hands in Jnana Mudra. You could relax the mudra or turn your palms down. Rather than believing there is a right way, feel the effect of each and choose the one which brings you the greatest sense of balance. So just feeling how you feel. And we'll shift into Shavasana. So for Shavasana, you may like a blanket rolled up underneath your knees. You may like a blanket over top of your body to help seal in warmth. Your body temperature does drop in Shavasana. And so a little extra warmth would be nice. Let your palms face the sky. Your arms 8 to 10, maybe 12 inches to the sides. You could send a little ripple, a little shimmy through your body, and then let that go. So Shavasana is the single most important pose in your practice. And it's a really sweet gesture. It's a really kind gesture for your body, which works hard all the time. To just give it a few moments to simply receive, to let go. So give yourself 5 minutes or even 10 minutes, or stay here longer if you like, just to release and integrate your practice so that you can genuinely feel the effects. And thank you so much. Thank you for practicing yoga.